and we're going to be talking about first the top 10 free agents. And we took this off of like ESPN to talk about this order. So don't say we ranked these poorly because we didn't rank them. First, we talk about Johnny Gaudreau, obviously. I mean, you want to say? I'll let you talk about Johnny Gaudreau first.
I mean, I'm not shocked that he went to an American team. I think the Flyers could have signed him if they made room for him, but
the Flyers dropped the ball.
The Flyers are a poverty franchise, so what do you expect? Columbus, I mean, it's Johnny Gaudreau. He's a great player. Columbus, I still don't think is going to be.
And Columbus, they re-signed technically Line.
Yeah, I still don't think Columbus is a great team though.
They could be a wild card.
They're fringe wild card.
There's a lot of fringe wild card teams this year.
I agree with that.
And to just we're going to bounce. Technically, we're not on the list for this one, but talk about the Tkachuk trade because it's still the Flames. We'll talk about that. You can say what you want about that first.
The Tkachuk trade?
Yes.
I mean, Tkachuk is a great player. He was honestly a lot better than I realized last year. But technically, Jonathan Huberdeau actually had more points than him. The thing with Jonathan Huberdeau is he's older. So the Panthers get the younger player and they get the extension. He's re-signed 8 years. Huberdeau, I think, is a UFA after this year.
But they also get Weegar.
They also get Mackenzie Weegar.
And first.
I like the trade for Calgary, but I mean, Florida does get a very good young player in the trade. So I think it could work out for both teams. I think it's going to take a couple of years to figure out who wins this trade. But I think if Huberdeau re-signs with Calgary, then that'll be huge for them.
I think Calgary wins the trade if Huberdeau resigns.
If Huberdeau resigns.
Yes. Okay, number 2, we have Nazem Kadri. Unsigned. Where do we think he will sign? I will go first.
Go ahead.
So obviously I have 6 potential teams. They could go off of this list if more teams make cap. But I think the most obvious thing that could happen is he goes back to the Avalanche, and then he just takes like a 1-year deal, 2-year deal, make something quick that he can still get an opportunity later on, and then you just go for another cup. I mean, players have done it before; it's not out of possibility. Next, we have the Islanders and Flames are in the same situation. They both have the cap to do it. I think that they both kind of need to do it. They're both not necessarily the Flames need to do it. They did make a splash with the Tkachuk trade, getting rid of him, but they got Huberdeau. But I feel like their fan bases feel a little slighted after all of free agency, and they need something positive. So bringing in Kadri would be that positive. And then we have the group of teams that just have the cap space to do it, which is the Red Wings, the Ducks, and the Stars all have the cap space to afford him. And I think the Red Wings and the Ducks would be more likely than the Stars to sign Kadri because they're rising teams and they have the cap space. Do I think they'll do it? No, but I mean, it's feasible.
Buffalo also has cap space.
Yes, Buffalo as well. But I didn't put them on the list because
Buffalo is kind of ascending in my opinion too, though. I mean, they got a good return for Eichel, and Kadri could be a good addition to that team too. I think there's a lot of young teams in the East, or actually in the league in general. There's a lot of young teams. It's so hard for me to predict where Kadri will go. I think in my opinion, the most likely scenario is that he returns to that.
I agree.
But just like looking at the cap space situation, there's not a lot of teams that actually have room for him.
Yeah.
Somebody's going to have to make room because from the perspective, I feel like it's got to be a contender that's going to sign him.
Or someone who's like moving up.
Yeah, I just think he's at the stage of his career where it's like a team that's kind of like up and coming might want to save that money for their young talent that they're going to have to resign later. So, I mean, Kadri...
You couldn't see like a 1-year or 2-year deal where he just goes to another team?
I just feel like he's at the stage where he's going to take a short-term deal if it's a contender, like a cup contender, or if it's going to be one of those fringe contenders, he's got to get term. I think that's my guess.
Okay.
But I'm not going to predict where he's going to go because I have no idea.
Okay. Well, the next 2 people are going to have to technically predict.
Like I said,
Avs
my opinion, most likely scenario is he returns to the Avalanche. I don't know how they make the.
I'm sure they could somehow.
Did you mention the Devils?
I didn't, but
the Devils do have room, and they already have people signed. I mean, they have Jack Hughes already signed, so that could be an interesting.
Let's move on to Klingberg. John Klingberg. I have a bunch of the similar teams, but this time I put the Senators as well because they do have a little cap space. So I do think he will probably end up. I put the Stars as well in this one because he could go back to the Stars.
They have the money, so
Yeah, if they do sign him, that'd be all their money though. I think he will probably end up on like the Islanders or Flames as well. It's just they have the cap and they need the splash. I just don't think like I put the Red Wings, but I don't think the Red Wings are going to sign him. It's just again that they have the cap and technically they are signing people, but I really don't know where he's going to sign. I will guess the Flames for the sake of guessing things. Or what is your take?
Klingberg,
Good player.
solid player. I think boring. I think he's gonna end up back in Dallas. That's my guess.
Okay, well next we have Patrice Bertrand. I just think he's gonna go back to
I was gonna say things. He's gonna end up back in Boston.
Oh, okay. Next up, Patrice Bertrand done. Bruins is our take. Andrew Kopp signed with the Red Wings. I think Kopp is just a very good all-around player. Some people here don't agree that he's very good.
I know he's not good.
He hates him. Andrew Kopp is a very good signing. He's good at everything. He's not great at everything, but he's good at everything. And you're going to get a good defensive player out of him. I feel like that's what the Red Wings wanted.
Yeah, I mean, he's an analytics darling, and he's a good. I mean, he's a solid guy. I never say he's a bad.
He's
player.
definitely good at everything.
He's a good two-way player. Like he'll chip in, depth scoring, and he's a defensive player. You're comfortable having him out there late in the game. So
he hates him. Darcy Kemper. The Capitals got Darcy Kemper. They needed a goalie because they got all their goalies left at the beginning of free agency. They got
Samsonov and Vitek Vanacek both
gone. I think it was great for them. I don't think they're going to do anything. Like they're going to make playoffs. Maybe I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. My hot take: Capitals do not make playoffs. Yeah, I don't really have much to say about Darcy Kemper. I do think Darcy Kemper is benefiting extremely from being on the Avalanche. So he's definitely not as good as he looked at the end. But he's still a solid goalie.
He's a solid starter.
Yeah.
I mean, we saw him in Arizona. He had flashes in Arizona.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
They were
but he's not going to be what he was.
They were a horrible hockey team. And I mean, even on Colorado, there was times where he was letting in some.
If you get close to him, his within 6 feet is awful. Even if there are people around.
But I do think he's a solid goalie. I think he's a very capable starter. And I mean, yeah, I don't really have much to say about it. I mean, the Capitals get a decent starting goalie after losing their goalies.
7, Jack Campbell. Oilers. I have nothing to say about this. Continue.
Jack Campbell was pretty good on the Leafs. So I mean,
I have nothing.
Edmonton has been lacking consistency in their for their goalie for a while. So maybe Jack Campbell can bring that for them.
I don't even care, honestly. So I was going to say we can hope, but I really don't care. 8, Claude Giroux. Senators is a very good signing for the Senators. Senators have a very young team. Senators, like the Red Wings and the Sabres, are all teams on the rise. Ducks. The Ducks didn't really sign anyone, though, so they're not
the Kings, too. They made the playoffs last year.
They didn't sign anyone either.
That's true, but I'm just saying.
I'm saying teams that signed quite a few people and are on the rise. Or made moves. The Senators didn't necessarily sign a lot of people, but they made moves.
They re-signed Josh Norris to a pretty big deal too.
And they got DeBrincat.
Yeah, that was pretty big too.
Do you have anything else to say about Claude Giroux?
I mean,
got out of Philly. That's good for him.
Good player. He's a little older. I don't actually know the contract. Like, how long was it?
I don't know. I don't care too much. It's the Senators. I don't care about Canadian hockey. Even though that's where hockey's played.
I mean, you should, because Ottawa's probably going to be.
No, Ottawa's irrelevant.
I'm actually curious to see the Giroux contract. It's a 3-year deal, 6.5. He's 34 years old. I mean,
he's old.
What'd you expect?
9, Andrzej Palat.
Andrzej Palat, yeah. I'm triggered that he just said Andrzej.
Andrzej Yzerman. Yzerman.
The Devils are another team. I mean, they still have a lot of cap space too, so they could also sign another.
Yeah, but I feel like they just signed him to a fat contract because they didn't get Gaudreau.
Did Palat get a big contract?
I think he got $8 million.
What?
Or no, it was 8 years maybe.
I was assuming like 5 in the 5.
No, I think it was 8 years, not
5 years, $6 million.
Yeah.
And he
That's
is
still a fat contract for Palat.
Palat is 31. I don't know.
That's a fat contract.
That's like it's not even like a horrible contract, but it's like why are the Devils doing that? Like I could see like that would make sense if it was like the Penguins or like some team like that. But why are the Devils doing it? Like they're a young team. That's kind of.
And the last person, Vincent Trocheck, to the Rangers, which was just a fill hole for Cop because they lost Cop.
Yeah, I mean, I think Trocheck's a solid player.
I filled the hole.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I was pretty surprised when I looked at his production for the past couple of years.
I never thought he was like
in
that
Carolina. He did have a 30
good.
He had a 30-goal season in Florida, but that was like maybe like 3 or 4 years.
Good,
ago.
but he's not like.
I'm curious. I need to see the contract for that too.
Well, while you do that, we can discuss the teams that assigned the most people. So that the Senators got Giroux, and obviously they got DeBrincat, and then they re-signed some people.
Did they extend DeBrincat too?
I think so.
Yeah.
So they're going to rise quickly. The Red Wings got Sherrod, Perron, Kopp, Kubalik, and Mata sucks. Don't care. They're going to rise. I think they're in the group of teams that are going to compete. And obviously, like Zach said, the Sabres they play extremely well at the end of the year. I remember that. So I think they're another team that's going to compete for a wild card. It's going to be really hard. I think the Bruins will be the team to drop, obviously. So, I mean.
I think we can get more into the NHL playoff predictions like closer to the season.
Yeah, of course. So this is just like
the Trocheck deal was 7 years, $5,625 per. And he's 29. That's not a horrible contract. Especially if he's playing with like Panarin. I think that can really.
And the last thing we will talk about for hockey is the Penguins re-signing their big three. What do we have on that Penguins fan over there?
I don't care if they never make the playoffs again. I'm just happy they're all going to retire. Well, they didn't re-sign their big three. They re-signed.
Okay, sorry. They're all there. 2 of them.
Yeah, Crosby's already there. I really am just happy that they brought back
Malkin will be there for 1,000.
Yep, and they're both going to retire as Penguins, so that's good for me. I don't really care.
Any other moves you care about the Penguins made?
I mean, they did trade. They re-signed everybody. They re-signed Raquel. They re-signed Kapanen. They just re-signed Danton Heinen as well. So it's
I saw that.
But they did trade John Marino, and they also traded Mike Matheson.
Did they do anything with POJ?
With what?
POJ.
No. They re-signed him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. They got Ty Smith. They got Jeff Petrie. I think another defenseman's probably going to be traded. Probably either Dumoulin or Pettersson. I'm hoping Dumoulin because he's older and is done. Like his deal's done after next year. And I'd rather keep Pettersson. I'm a pretty big fan of his. But we'll see what happens. Still a lot of time before the season starts.
And that is all we have on the NHL.